Built-in validation annotations like not blank and size help enforce basic rules, but sometimes we need more control. So in this lesson, I'm going to show you how to create custom validation annotations. We're going to create a custom annotation called lowercase for enforcing that a string is lowercase. To do that, we go to our project and add a new package, validation. Now in this package, we add a new class called lowercase and change the type to annotation. Now, as you can see, annotations are represented using @interface in Java. Now here we have to write a bit of boilerplate code. You don't need to memorize anything. For the most part, IntelliJ helps you write all the code you need. But if not, you can always look at the documentation or this video for reference. Now here we press tab. With this, we're defining the message attribute and giving it a default value. This is the same message attribute that all our validation annotations have, okay? We should also add 2 more attributes. So tab, we have groups and payload. Next, we should add a few annotations here. The first one is target. And with this, we specify where we want to apply this annotation. Are we going to apply it to methods, fields, constructors, classes, or what? Here we can pass 1 or more values. We have this enumeration element type that contains various types in Java. So we have field, type, constructor, method, and so on. Here we're going to select field. Now, if you want to apply this to multiple types like fields and methods, you need to wrap them in braces to represent an array, okay? Let's simplify the code. The second annotation we need to apply is retention. And with this, we specify where this annotation is applied. That is during runtime. Again, you don't need to memorize anything. This is just boilerplate code that we have to write to implement a custom annotation. So this is just a declaration of our lowercase annotation, but it doesn't contain the validation logic. The validation logic goes in a different class. So in this package, let's add a new class, lowercase validator. Now this class should implement the constraint validator interface that is defined in Jakarta.validation. Now this interface is a generic interface with 2 generic type parameters. The first parameter is our custom annotation, and the second parameter represents the type of data we want to apply our annotation on, in this case, string. Now to implement this interface, we press Alt and Enter and implement it. There are 2 methods. We only need to implement the isValid method. And this is where we implement our validation logic. So here we have 2 parameters. The first one is string s. This is the same type that we used up here. Now, for clarity, let's rename this parameter to value. Now let's implement our validation logic. First, we check if value is null, then we return true. Because strings are nullable and lowercase doesn't really apply to null objects. So if value is null, we return true. Otherwise, we get the value and compare it with value in lowercase. If this condition is true, that means value is lowercase. Now we need to link this class to our custom annotation. So back to the lowercase annotation, we add another annotation that is constraint. Press tab. And here we provide the name of the validator class. That's all we had to do. Now let's go back to our DTO and import our custom annotation. We can optionally give it a message, like email must be in lowercase. Let's restart the application. Now let's hit this endpoint with an invalid email. So I'm going to make mosh uppercase and send a request. Here's our custom validation logic. Email must be in lowercase. Now if we use a lowercase string and send this request again, the validation bypasses and we successfully create a user object.